Number 26. The central idea of passage 2 is that the Cultural Revolution caused tremendous violence and death, resulted in widespread infrastructure developments, revolutionized agriculture, developed industry, and extended medical care, or D, occurred in China. Well, let's look at this. We're looking for the central idea of passage 2. That's this whole thing right over here. The central idea of passage 2, is it that it caused tremendous violence and death? Well, it did cause a tremendous amount of violence and death, and they do refer to it as a cultural tragedy over here. But that's not the central idea, right? The central idea is that there were other things that happened during the Cultural Revolution that are looked over, right? So that's not the primary or the central idea of that second passage. Is it that it resulted in widespread infrastructure developments? Yeah, it did, right? We do talk about the different infrastructure developments that happened, sweeping economic reforms, etc. So this could be a potential answer for us. Is it that it revolutionized agriculture, developed industry, and extended medical care? Yeah, it did do those things. So yeah, that's a potential answer. And is it that it occurred in China? Well, the Chinese Cultural Revolution obviously occurred in China, but that's not the central idea of this passage. So now we're stuck between B and C. And it's really important to understand something that a lot of students forget. When we're looking for the central idea of the passage, we should not try to get bogged down in the little details here. A lot of students choose C as their correct answer, but C is actually incorrect, even though it's true. This is true, right? It is true because in this case, if you look at these paragraphs right here, it actually does talk about, this paragraph right here talks about agriculture. This paragraph right here talks about industry. And this paragraph right here talks about medical care, right? So it does talk about how it revolutionized agriculture, developed industry, and extended medical care with the use of those barefoot doctors. But again, that is not the central idea. It is just using these three things, agriculture, industry, and medical care, as examples that the Cultural Revolution resulted in widespread infrastructure developments. It's just using these three things as an example to iterate that point. The central idea, however, is that it just resulted in widespread infrastructure developments. A lot of times we'll tend to give very, very specific answers, and this is one thing you guys should definitely watch out for. It's that we tend to over answer the question, right? Answer choice C is a trap answer because it looks exactly like, oh, most of the passage is talking about agriculture, industry, and medical care. And while that is true, that is not the central idea. The central idea is that a lot of infrastructure developments came out of the Cultural Revolution here. So B is our correct answer.